Yo, what's going on, guys? You got Glop, and we are here for week 3 of the Me Draft League. Now, before you start throwing the fraud accusations my way, let me reassure you, we will be doing coverage of all the weeks of this league. I've been a little bit busy with IRL stuff, but I am going to commit to giving you guys the highest level and highest quality Pokemon Clover Draft League content. For those of you who are not interested in the team builder, down in the description, you can find a timestamp that's going to take you right to the battle. And for those of you who are sticking around, well, thank you. I'm so glad that you can be here with me to indulge in this wonderful experience. So, we're going up against the ludicrous Love. And he's got probably the most offensive team in the entire division. It's basically just straight HO. There's almost no bulk to be had on his roster. The main fatty is our Admoot, if you invest in it. And I guess the Fairleon, but that thing's kind of a piece of shit, so I'm not too worried about it. Something I want to explore with going forward is showing you guys this screen here. It kind of breaks down the strengths and weaknesses of the teams. On the side here, you can see the type chart matchup. Just give you guys a little bit of idea of how I approach building each matchup, right? So the first thing I noticed, obviously, is that majority of this guy's roster is either weak or neutral to rock. So I knew that the game plan was going to be based around Barkley, getting that thing in as many times as possible, clicking the rock move as many times as possible. And I also, in a similar vein, recognized that Stealth Rock was going to be very important to our success. So, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the team builder, and on screen you guys are going to see the matchup on the side so that you've got a nice visual there as we go through each of the different Pokemon. Starting off, we've got the Barkley with the Choice Scarf, and we're going with 306 speed on this. The significance of that is that with the Choice Scarf, it allows us to outpace the Pretzley when it has the Suede Shoes item. For those who don't know, Suede Shoes is an item that doubles the speed of Pretzley. Now, we're only creeping if it's modest. If he's timid, hey bro, you got it. But it does mean that he's got significantly reduced damage output, so we can definitely leverage that to our favor. Moveset, very straightforward. We've got Chaos Dunk. That's pretty much the only move we need to be clicking with this Pokemon. Close Combat, of course, is going to hit the Trigodon for super effective damage, and it also hits the Bruh Kid for neutral damage on the off chance that those Pokemon come, but they are quite momentum sinks for his team, so I don't envision that they'll be making an appearance. We do have a Cell Rock on the off chance that, like I said, he is that timid Pretzley, or if he's able to get Speed Boost on any of his Pokemon, and we still need the priority, we have that option. And then, of course, we have Stealth Rock, which really we don't want to be clicking with this Pokemon, but on the off chance that he's able to remove them, and we lose our again, we'll be able to set those up again. Now, the next member of this team here is Gypsy. For those of you who have been loyal Clover enthusiasts, I know you'll be thrilled to see that she's making a comeback, and in the Draft League scene, no less. So, very straightforward moveset in this Pokemon. This is an incredibly hyper offensive matchup, and the 3 flying resist the opponent has, 2 of them are basically 2-hit KO'd by Brave Bird on the swap. And the other one, Trigodon, of course, is a low tier piece of shit. So, like I said, if that comes, we can absolutely abuse that, no problem. Moveset on this thing, we're rocking with Brave Bird for our strongest damage possible. We've got Superpower on the off chance he does bring the Trigodon. Return is our strongest move into Thundercock if he decides to try to run like a physically defensive set to basically stave off the hits from Gypsy. That's our way to get the strongest punish possible. And then, of course, we got Acrobatics here, and I just wanted this option on the off chance that we take a stray knockoff. It gives us a way to still have a very strong stab that doesn't require us to sacrifice our HP in the process. So we don't need any speed in this at all, thanks to our Gale Wings ability, which, if you guys don't know, Gale Wings and Clover works like Generation 6 Gale Wings, where we don't have to be at full HP. So even if we take some Brave Bird Recoil, or if we switch it on Stealth Rock, we're still going to have +1 priority on all of our flying attacks, which is quite nice in a matchup like this. So we're just rocking with max attack, max HP, very straightforward. Our next member is the again, and I do have some calcs in mind to show you guys. One of the biggest threats the opponent has is that Deathrus. With Flying Gem and Tough Claws, it can be an absolute menace. So as you can see here, with max physical defense, we are able to live a jolly +2 Flying Gem, Tough Claws. Now if he runs Adamant, of course, we're in a little bit more trouble. I believe it's a roll. But it is a roll that's in our favor. It's about a 5-8 in our favor. So I figured that this would be a very sensible bring. Rocky Helmet, of course, going to punish any of the physical contact Pokemon. Any little bit of chip goes a long way, helps put Pokemon in range of the Chaos Dunk, helps put Pokemon in range of the Brave Bird from Gypsy. So we've got U-Turn and Knockoff. U-Turn, of course, going to allow us to get momentum and reposition, get in our Barkley for free. Knockoff just going to remove items. Probably going to be a lot of offensive and boosting items like choice items or life orbs. And then we've got Rapid Spin on the off chance that we need to remove hazards and keep our Gypsy healthy throughout the course of the match. Next member we have here is the Ava Cycle, and we're running a very physically defensive set because the Scyther is a very difficult Pokemon for us to switch into, and also U-turn spam is kind of free into our team. We have some resist, but they really don't appreciate taking those U-turns, and on the off chance that they go for a straight up attack like an Iron Head or something, you know, we don't want our Gypsy or our Yurdunk taking that hit, so we've got this physically defensive Ava Cycle set with Flame Body as a way to punish U-turn spam and also to potentially get a burn on that Scyther and completely neuter it entirely. We have a little bit of Spit F on this, basically to take better hits from the Admu if it ends up being a Calm Mind set. A lot of the second half of this build is focused around how do I help keep the Admu in check, because I was very worried about that going into the team preview. Has a very diverse move pool, very bulky Pokemon, and with setup, it can definitely get out of hand, so we want to make sure that we're keeping that thing in check. We've got Heavy Slam for our stab option, puts pressure onto the Admute, Knockoff again just to get rid of items, force progress, and we have a backup spinner because, again, I really want to make sure that I'm not taking a lot of damage switching in a matchup like this. Every bit of health that we have is very important, and we don't want to be taking unnecessary Stealth Rock. We want to be allowing our Pokemon to check the things and stay healthy throughout the course of the match. And of course, our last move is Moonlight, basically just to sit on the Scyther or other Pokemon on his team. Next member we have here is our Spookzilla, and this thing looks amazing in this matchup. We have double priority in the form of Spook Out and Shadow Sneak. Just a really great way to keep his offensive pieces in check. A lot of them are going to be KO'd by the combination of Spook Out into Shadow Sneak, especially if Stealth Rock is on the field. And of course, Shadow Bone is our great stab option. Now, we would not be able to hit the Rico Suave unless we had Superpower, so that's why we're slotting it here. And the 310 speed, it's basically for Admute that is only creeping max speed Ava Cycle. So if they decide to go like 308, 309 speed, we're going to get the jump on that and be able to pressure it with repeated Shadow Bones thanks to the spell tag, which is going to be boosting up all three of our ghost type moves. Otherwise, we're just rocking max attack to be putting on as much pressure as possible. And Intimidate is very nice in a matchup like this because it helps provide Spookzilla with extra entry points. Specifically, in regards to the Scyther, we can help, basically pivot on a U-turn, take less damage from that attack. Can also slow down the Deathrus if it ends up getting boosts, and we need a way to basically reduce its attack so that maybe Ree again can take a hit and reposition and get in the Barbarkley. Now, the final member we have here on the team is the Substar, and the moveset on this is pretty specific. It's kind of straightforward, though. It's kind of basic with this Pokemon. Toxic is really just there for the Admute, so that if it's a Calm Mind Recover set, we have a way to put that Pokemon on a timer. If it is a Calm Mind Heal Bell set, that likely indicates one of two things, either that it doesn't have Recovery or that it doesn't have a Fire-type move. In both of these cases, we have ways to get around that. If it is not a Fire-type move, then Ava Cycle sits on it forever, and if it is a Fire-type move with no Recovery, then we can reposition with Volt Switch and get in the Spookzilla and hit it with a combination of Spook Out into Shadow Bone, which should KO most variants if we've gotten a little bit of extra chip in the form of Stealth Rock and the aforementioned Volt Switch. EVs in this guy are pretty straightforward. We want that bold nature just to capitalize on the higher defense stat that it has, but we've got a lot of investment in the special defense. That's really just to help us take hits from the Pretzley as well as the Gynuke. Gynuke can really easily run a mixed set with physical options such as V-Create, but it's also got a great special move pool in the form of Steam Eruption and Giga Drain. So I figured that a pivot set like this with a Citrus Berry would just be really nice to have. It kind of takes a hit from basically anything and lets us reposition and get in Barbarkley or one of our offensive pieces like the Spookzilla. So I felt pretty confident going in with a set like this. I just felt like it would give us the most opportunities to position our attackers. So with all that being said, guys, we will now go ahead and jump into the match. Alright guys, and we are back for the battle. So, looking at the team preview here, I've noticed that Love has elected to bench both the Brookid and the Trigodon, meaning there is not a single rock resist on that team. That bodes well for our Barbarkley, so I know it's going to be a very important piece in this matchup. However, he did end up bringing the Rico Suave, which is going to make it kind of difficult to get up Stealth Rock. So we're going to have to be mindful of that, make sure we don't accidentally set it up on our side, courtesy of its Magic Bounce. When deciding the leads, though, I noticed that there is no Volt Switch immunity, and Substar really can't be O-code by any Pokemon on his team. So I'm going to go ahead and lead off with that, as he decides to lead off with his Gynuke, and this is wonderful for us. We can very safely just go for a Volt Switch turn 1, and that's going to give us a entry point for our Barbarclay, because even if he is Choice Scarf, we don't die to a Giga Drain, and Chaos Dunk looks like a great way to force progress. So we're going to go right for that Chaos Dunk as he switches into Rico Suave. And I took a little bit of time here in this turn. I wanted to make sure, you know, does this guy have knockoff or really anything that can annoy our Barbarclay? And the answer is no. So Chaos Dunk is pretty free to go for again here, as he elects to go for a Wish in this next turn. And I'm noticing that I've only got 6 Chaos Dunks left. Want to make sure I'm preserving PP, and it would be really unwise if I just kind of let myself get Protect stalled. So I'm going to expect Protect on a set like this and go out into my again, as he goes for a very aggressive U-turn, and it works out in his favor. He's able to get back in his Gynuke and keep it healthy, but of course, our Substar still has its Citrus Berry, and it is pretty healthy, so we can go out into that. He does miss a Steam Eruption, but we were never going to be in range of Steam Eruption into Giga Drain, so either way, you know, we were in a fine position. Going to allow us to go for that Volt Switch once again, and now there really is no guard for the Chaos Dunk, so we are going to claim a KO here. Go right for the Chaos Dunk, and I believe he doesn't expect us to be Scarf, so that works out beautifully. He's going to bring out his Scythe here, and I'm expecting a early U-turn. So I'm going to use Spookzilla as a pivot for that, seeing as how we've got the Intimidate and we resist the hit. Is going to allow in his Death Risk, but of course we can just go for the Spook out and get our free damage, as it does a great amount of damage to it. And I see leftovers in this thing, so I know that, you know, it's not really going to be able to threaten our again with any damage, so I'm going to go right out into that. And I know he's still got that Rico Suave in the back. It would be very tempting to try to go for Stealth Rock when it's only at 5%, because it would KO it upon switch in, but also at the same time, if he goes into it, we're kind of screwed. So I'm going to go for a U-turn, just not really wanting to allow him to do that, as we do end up catching the Rico Suave, which is nice, because not only are we able to regen off some health, we're also able to position our Spookzilla back onto the field. So I'm going to go for the Spook out here as he goes for Protect, which is a very nice tech to have into a matchup with Spook out, so very good prep on his end there. I'm just going to switch into Regen, seeing as how I can easily take a Ghost move, as he goes for the Nasty Plot. Definitely wasn't expecting this kind of aggression. And I think he was playing assuming that I was Choice Banded, because the spell tag damage does fall within the same damage ranges as Choice Band. So I think he's playing based on that information, but of course I'm not choiced. But either way, I switch out just trying to be safe, as he's able to KO me in the next turn, in the following turn with a Focus Blast, which I definitely did not see coming. A little bit unfortunate, but I do know now that this thing's coverage, of course, is going to be Ghost and Fighting, so I know that Jepsy can come in here, and he has to hit Focus Blast if he wants to actually damage us. So just going to go for that Brave Bird as he goes for another Protect. And there really is no switch in for him at this point, and we are able to do over half with the Brave Bird, which is quite nice. Thanks to all that HP investment we have, we do end up living the Focus Blast, which is very clutch, because it allows us to get off one more attack in the following turn. As I believe he just switches into the Thundercock, and we do a little bit over 50%. So looking at it statistically, we traded 100% of our Karooster health for a little over 100% of his team's health. Overall, I felt like that was a pretty good use of the Pokemon. Gonna allow us now to go into the Spookzilla and just go for a Spook out. Don't really feel a need to predict. We're still in a pretty commanding position offensively. And of course, don't want to take a knockoff here, so I am just going to go out into our Substar as a sacrifice. He's going to go for that knockoff, which will net him the 2-hit KO, but it now will allow us to get our Barbarclay in safely and go right for that Chaos Dunk and secure us yet another KO. And we're coming down to a very close to the wire endgame here. Gonna switch now into Avicycle, seeing as how it's kind of my dedicated switch in for this Pokemon. And I like to go for the knockoff first, because I was looking at damage rolls and I saw that I could in fact live 2 Throat Chops if I was able to get rid of the Life Orb. So I do just that, able to get rid of it, and we can go for a Moonlight in the subsequent turn, provided that he doesn't get a very high damage roll. We do end up living, but you know, at this point I'm a little bit annoyed. I think at this point we've been hit with now 4 contact moves and no Flame Body proc, which is kind of absurd, but what are you going to do, right? I'm just going to continue healing here as he finally recognizes that this is a losing exchange. He's going to make a switch into the Pretzely, and I know that I live any one hit from full, but I kind of forgot about the Ghost Note here. I was expecting like Shadow Ball to come out, but of course Ghost Note does allow Boom Burst to be a Ghost type move, but considering all the bulk investment we have, we are able to live that and trade into it and get a Heavy Slam off, which at this point should secure us the win, because everything now is in range of the Chaos Dunk. So at this point we just sack the Avicycle, go into the Barbarclay, and we just dunk on the competition. So pretty scary matchup. There were some turns that he could have made some aggressive plays and potentially won the game. For example, I was talking with some of the coaches in the post-game channel. We were recognizing that right I believe on the turn I go to sack Avis, like, or sorry, the turn I go to sack Substar. If he had gone for a U-turn on that turn, right here, instead of going for the knockoff, that he would get a KO with Pretzley, and basically the sack war could be winnable, but I would have to get some plays right. It would definitely be more in his favor, but thankfully he just went for the knockoff because he was scared of the Spookzilla, rightfully so. And we are able to net ourselves a very narrow 2-0 victory. So hope you guys have enjoyed watching the video. I will be seeing you guys tomorrow for week 4. And until then, have a great rest of your day.